And welcome to another Jono Talks podcast. Today's guest is singer and songwriter Sarah May. Sarah is only 15 years of age and yet has already been a finalist of the 2015 Melbourne Music Bank Competition. Alongside of this achievement, Sarah achieved an award for being the best upcoming female artist at the SnowWave Festival. Thanks, Sarah, for coming by.
Yeah, hi.
So when you acquire all these words, obviously it's just reward for the effort you put in.
Yeah.
But does it add any pressure to you as an artist?
Yeah, it does. It's like you kind of, when you tell people these things, they're like, oh, that must be really big, you must be great. And it's like, what happens if they don't think you're great? So yeah, it does add a bit of pressure, but it's good pressure. It makes you work harder. So enjoy it, yeah.
And what was the first concert you played at, or competition rather, because you were a finalist of the 2015 Melbourne Music Bank Competition?
Yeah.
Was that the first competition you were involved in?
It was the first competition. I've won the SnowWave Tour Award, but that's more like a tour where people come up from Melbourne and go around rural Victoria, and it's a tour, so it's award for like best upcoming artist and stuff. So it's not really a competition in a sense, but yeah, the Melbourne Music Bank was definitely the first competition that I got nominated for. So yeah, that's great.
And how do you feel about performing in front of people? Because there's some artists that, you know, they can get like, I don't know, stage fright, if you call it that. But do you embrace kind of like the live setting, or do you think you're better like in the studio creating things?
Definitely the live setting. I'm much better at that. I kind of feed off the people's energy. It's always kind of been like that. In the studio, I find it a bit hard to kind of channel the same like emotions and energies. So definitely when I perform live, I push myself more because it's live, you know. I perform better live. Yeah. And
but then when you're in the studio and so for instance, one of your hit songs which you've been nominated for, Trapped. Like when you're in the studio recording that, where do you draw your inspiration from if it's not from kind of like a crowd feeding you that energy? Where do you get it from?
I've kind of got it's a bit weird. I have to remember why I wrote the song and the feelings I was feeling when I wrote the song. So I kind of sometimes have to go into my own little zone for maybe 5 minutes, and it can get kind of painful because Trapped is like a sad song. You have to kind of feel those feelings again to be able to bring them across and express them to an audience that's not exactly in front of your face, you know? So yeah, that's kind of how I do it.
And when I was listening to it, I noticed it was a very mature song, especially for someone of your age.
Yeah.
So what exactly was it about? Obviously it's about feelings, and not like, for instance, there's a quote of you saying, "It was a time in my life when something really big happened and I was kind of engulfed by the feeling of being engulfed and kind of compressed into one little spot." So what actually happened?
Well, it was just a really big event, like a big thing that happened, and it was like, it's exactly what I've written there. It's like, I don't really explain it. It's like, yeah, it was a really big thing that happened, and that was the only way I could express it in a song, and obviously it worked well to express it that way. But yeah, it was just a really big thing, and that helped me a lot. Yeah.
And there's some artists that can create their best music just kind of spontaneously, like it can just come to them. Did Trapped come to you pretty quickly?
Yeah, I was just playing around on my keyboard, and like this, just like the word trapped just came into my mind, and I was like, oh my God, that's what I'm feeling right now. So I just got some chords and started singing that song, and it just kind of came to me. Yeah, really quickly.
And you also have a music video of that song. Is that your only music video that you have, or?
So that is one of them. There's another one by my friend Lucy Chatterton, who was doing it for a project, which I haven't put up online yet because I kind of want to have that as a kind of a big reveal. But I recorded, like, I videoed that with her, and that was really good. This one is one of Mum's friends that she works with. He went up into, like, the place I used to live, and he went around and put all photos and pictures of me up there in, like, beautiful places up there, and took photos of that. So it showed where I'd come from and kind of what I'm doing, I guess.
Yeah, it was a really good music video because it was, the scenery was really beautiful, and I thought it kind of summarized the song well. But how did you produce that? Did you have any, I assume you would have, like, input as to what scenes should be involved?
I gave him the photos that I wanted to be done, and he came up with the idea, but I kind of gave him some locations that he should go because he went up there because it was a school day for me. But I don't know, we worked really well on that together, but he did a lot of the work, I must say. He's great.
And so as a solo artist, are you involved in, like, a band or anything?
No, not at the moment.
Is that a good thing? Is that where you see your music going in the future?
Well, I'm not quite sure at the moment. I enjoy being a solo artist at the moment, but there are a lot of limitations to it. Like, you can't really be as full live, I guess, without, drums and bass and other things like that. But at the same time, you kind of rely on yourself, which is always what I've been good at. So, like, I like the fact that if I mess up in a live gig or something, I have no one to blame but myself because I did it. So that makes it easier for me, but then again, there are limitations. There's pros and cons to everything. So that's kind of it. But in a sense, I don't know if I would start a band. I think I would give it a shot. And if it worked well, it would have to be with people that work really well with, I think.
Yeah, because, in music bands, I had an artist on this program, and he talked about in a band how, like, egos can collide when you're trying to make music, or just personality differences. I assume, like, one of the pros would be that you have full control over your music. There's no one you construct the lyrics, you construct, like, kind of the sound. Is that an advantage, or are there some times where you go, I really need, some kind of input from someone else?
No, that does happen. I think one of the other pros of, like, being in a band is that you can always go to them and be like, hey guys, do you reckon you could help me with this? Or do you have any input in this? Should I change anything? Opinions, stuff like that. That would really help me sometimes because I have a lot of writer's block that happens to me a lot. So that would be really well, but then at the same time I would kind of fear if I loved a lyric so much that, like, if somebody didn't like it, that it wouldn't go in there. I kind of get really attached to my lyrics.
And so when you have, like, a writer's block moment, what do you resort to when you're trying to create the lyrics themselves? For instance, is it kind of like a methodical process with you, or does it just come naturally, like the words and everything?
It comes naturally when I'm in the zone. I have this weird little thing that I call in the zone, which is like I'm thinking about nothing else. Like, I'm not thinking about anything, and kind of lyrics are just kind of flowing to me. And I have this rule in my house that, like, because the zone is like a special place. It's really, like, rare and great to be there. I have, like, a little sign I put on my door that's, like, in the zone. You can't come in. And so nobody can, like, interrupt me in the zone because it goes away. But it's, like, that's just kind of how I write it. And so I guess that's why songwriting can take a while for me, because the zone is, like, a bit rare. It comes and goes. But sometimes when I really want to write a song that I think I just need to write, I can be like, okay, sit down, write it, but I don't put as much feeling into it as I do my other songs when I'm in the zone. Yeah.
And, like, what would you say is your best song in terms of when you're in that kind of mentality where you're like, where nothing is really going on and the music songwriting is coming freely. Was there any kind of song that typified that?
It's either between, I have two songs that I'm really, well, all those songs I'm putting on my album, which I'm going to be producing soon, are all, I'm only putting them, only the Zone songs on the album because they're the ones that actually come across the strongest. But my favourite song at the moment would either be between Let Her Go or a song I wrote called White. And I wrote those ones and I just like, they're my favourite songs because every lyric is special. And that's something I really strive for when I write my songs. I don't want to write lyrics that mean nothing to me sometimes. I always try and make every lyric count and express what I'm feeling in every way in 3 minutes. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But is that a hard thing to do, though, to scrap out songs which you otherwise thought could have been in the album? Or?
Yeah, sometimes, well, it's kind of, I can feel if it's, when I'm writing it, if it's going to be a successful song. And sometimes, like, I kind of just feel it, like, is this going to work? Am I going to be able to put the amount of motion into this that I want to? And a lot of times, like, 60% of the time, it's no, or like 70%. But when I do feel it, it's really special and I get really excited about that.
Mm-hmm. And so how long does the album go for?
The album, I'm just doing an EP, so that's going to be about 5 songs. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And so how many songs did you have to get rid of?
Probably about, well, writing-wise, like when I'm writing them and I finish them, I'll be like, I can almost instantly be like, is this going to work? So maybe, I don't know, 20 songs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it's just like, I keep them there, but I know that unless I fully change them and adapt them, it's not really going to work, you know? But I always keep them there just in case to like take inspiration from for other songs.
Mm-hmm. And when the album is released, do you plan to do like a live tour of that album?
I do plan to go up to my little country town in Victoria and do some venues around Melbourne that have helped me out a lot. I also plan to do a little CD launch in Melbourne and in Mansfield, where I come from. So, yeah, kind of a small little tour just to be like, woo, album.
Yeah. And is that how you see yourself, like, developing your music? Just kind of, would you ever consider like a single release, or would it be, or are you kind of like an album artist?
It'd probably be like I put the single on the album, because if it's a single, it's a really special song. And yeah, so I wouldn't necessarily like, it would have to be on the album, the single. So yeah, I think that's what most artists do. Sometimes like songs that appeal the most, you know?
Yeah. Because I'm a really big fan of Coldplay.
Yeah.
And they released a new album. Forgot what it was called. Do you remember what it was called? Their new album?
I'm not sure about it has stars, isn't it? Stars in it, is that right?
I'm not too sure, but
yeah.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. But what my point was that their songs kind of from 1 to 11, they kind of have a story behind it. Each song, which flows on from the next, has some kind of like meaning to it, like a story.
Yeah.
When with your 5-song album that you're creating, did you keep that in mind, or were they just individual songs?
They all kind of have the same theme about it. They're all kind of about, how do I put this? They're all kind of about like the thing I went through and like experiences, because there's been like kind of little experiences in one major experience, like big things in one major big thing. But yeah, it's all kind of tied together. Like it makes sense if you knew the story behind it. So that's it's all kind of tied together.
And because, music can often be a subjective thing. So, like, when someone's listening to a piece of music, not always that song can come across, like, as what you intended it to be.
Yeah.
So, for instance, when I listen to songs, sometimes I don't really know. It can be a sad song, but I still like it, and I don't even realise that.
Yeah.
So, is that a focus of yours to really make the listener who is listening to your music understand what you're singing about, or is it just an enjoyment thing?
Well, I would rather the listener take the song and compare it to their own experiences. So when I'm writing songs, I try to be as not broad, but like open as possible. I don't really like to, name names in a song or something, because I feel like if you listen to a song and there's a name in it that doesn't really correspond with you, it can kind of kill the vibe. And that's just I've always liked songs where I can really relate and connect to, and that's just kind of what I want my listeners to feel.
Mm-hmm. And so have you ever created songs which were inspired by your imagination, so just like fictional things, or are they all based on like life events?
Well, when you songwrite, in my case, I kind of, it's getting an event and kind of morphing that event a bit. So in some cases, my songs are a little bit off topic of what actually happened or what I was actually feeling, but they're mainly based around true events and true things I've felt. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so when you're singing about these songs, are there... because you have a real emotional connection to them, do you think that's a good thing when you're playing it live?
I think the emotion comes across more. Sometimes it can get a bit much for people to deal with, like, wow, it's too much right now. But I think in most cases it helps me really connect, like, because there's nothing worse than just watching somebody who doesn't really care about the song, just doesn't really feel anything when they play, and that's like a big no-no for me. I never want to experience that.
Yeah, because definitely live you can see that, like, if the artist, they don't really care about what they're singing or, like, composing, it can come across quite easily.
Yeah.
And so in that regard, what kind of artists do you look up to?
Well, the sort of music I like is kind of alternative indie rock. So I like the Wombats, the Kooks, like Phoenix, stuff like that, Tudor Cinema Club. But I really, really look up to Taylor Swift, and that's kind of like the only mainstream artist that I really look up to. It's just, I love her songwriting style and the way she comes across so raw and so honest, in my opinion. Like, sure, she has some songs where you're like, yeah, but she somehow gets that emotion she's feeling and puts it into like the perfect words that just, like, when you're listening to it and you've had that experience and she sings those words, you're like, oh my God, that's what I was feeling. Like, that's always what I've always wanted to strive to be like. And just, like, for people, if they're listening to my songs, for that to happen, that would be like the best moment for me. That would just make my day.
Yeah, and that's definitely something that comes across with her. Like, her music is clearly very real. Like, what she sings, you can tell it's not fake or anything.
Yeah,
I think that's a huge appeal of her music. There's some criticisms, though, that Taylor Swift, when producing songs in studio and producing songs live, that her live versions are not quite the same as her studio versions. Do you think that's because of the emotion, like when she's, like, singing it live?
Well, yeah, I've been to 2 Taylor Swift concerts, and I can honestly say they were just, like, the most incredible things ever. Well, actually, I've been to 3 because I flew up to Sydney to see her. But, it's different when she does her studio albums and when she performs live. When she performs live, like, she's perfect on pitch and everything from what I've heard. but when she performs live, you just kind of, you feel that emotion coming across, especially with her more raw songs that she plays. Like in her new album, Clean is a really raw song, and Wildest Dreams is a bit of a raw song. So she played piano when she went to the concert, and whenever she plays piano, she really gets into it. You can see it in her face. But when they create studio albums, she has to kind of come across a certain way. She can't put the same amount of emotion that she can put into and just kind of overwhelm the song a bit. And then, there's like auto-tune and stuff that take out a bit of that and stuff. But yeah, I think she's more emotional when she performs live, like as a lot of people would be. But yeah, that's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, and I think a lot of kind of like those who are not fans of Taylor Swift and kind of criticise her live performances wouldn't really understand that emotional aspect where, that rawness which you mentioned like really comes across.
Yeah.
Is that something you strive towards when performing live, or do you kind of try to replicate that rawness, so to speak, in both studio and live performances?
Well, it's kind of different. In live performance, I like to put as much rawness and emotion and just feeling into it as I can without overloading it. In the studio, it's a bit different. Like, you don't want to overdo it and sound like an emotional and mental wreck, but at the same time, you want people to feel what you're feeling and what you're trying to put across. So it's different, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so in terms of like some of the concerts you've performed at, so the Melbourne Music Bank Competition, you were a finalist.
Yeah.
Well done on that.
Thanks.
Was there a part of you though that was disappointed because you went so far into the competition? Did you really want to be the winner of that competition?
Yeah. Of course we all wanted to really get into it, and it's like I've never put so much work and effort into it as in my music as I did, in that whole competition for that month. Like, I was in school answering phone calls, and I had like permission to leave the classroom to answer phone calls because it was so important. And it was like, it was strange. I look forward to Sundays so much because nobody would call me. I was so excited, but at the same time, I just loved it because I just love being that busy on something that I enjoy so much. And it kind of gave me a tiny little glimpse into what my life would be like, what my life hopefully will be like when I continue being an artist. I enjoyed that, and of course I wanted to win because I put so much effort in, but everybody did, and obviously they're more experienced than me and they worked really hard, and I think that all the finalists really deserve what they got, so that was really good.
Mm-hmm. And so how many participants were involved in that competition?
There was 12 nominated finalists. Then we had to go get as many votes as we could, and the 4 people with the most votes got into the top 4, and then they would perform at the State Art Theatre, and then the judges of the competition would decide the winner, and the winner was Jade Ellis, and I love Jade, she's so good. She totally deserved it. It was great.
Mm-hmm. And what about her music did you really like?
Well, I just liked I thought it was really nice. It was raw. I liked her songwriting. When she performed, she was really good. She was getting really into it. And she's just a generally really nice person. She was always really nice to me, so yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think with that competition though, you may have mentioned it before, your mother entered you into that competition,
yeah.
Is that correct? Yeah.
I didn't. So what happened was my friend Alex sent me this message being like, you should enter this competition. I think it'd be really good for you. And he also entered another finalist who got into the top 4, Sam and Jade. So, he obviously gave her the opportunity to win. But he said, this would be really good for you. And I was like, oh, yeah. But the next day I got influenza. And so I was really, really unwell, and I had to stay off school for like 2 weeks. And so that was kind of the time you had to put your applications in. But I couldn't like sing, and I couldn't record a song to do. because I wanted to record one live to give to them. Obviously I couldn't do it because I just couldn't sing. It would just hurt and it would sound terrible. So I was lying in bed, and I had previously recorded Trapped with the song that I entered in, just like a little studio recording with one of Alex's friends. And so Mum, just without me knowing, just went and entered that in. And so like a couple days later, I was just lying in bed, and I got a call, and they're like, you got into the top 12. And I was like, I'm really confused what's happening, sorry. So yeah, and I got really excited, but that was awesome. It was really unexpected.
Do you plan on getting involved in more of those kind of competitions?
Yeah, that really drove me, getting in a competition. Like, I just had to do it. You know, there was no excuses to be like, oh, but I'll do it tomorrow. It was like, you have to do it today. I loved the whole being fully immersed in that. That was my favourite bit of the whole competition, I think. Yeah, definitely I'd do it again, because it was just, it helped my music so much. It helped my fan base grow, just get bigger. Oh, I enjoyed it so much. It was so fun. And
would you consider doing or appearing on like a show like X Factor or Australian Idol, or...?
No, not really. I've never really felt the drive to do that, you know. I've always really wanted to get there rawly myself, you know. I feel like if I did that, I wouldn't fully experience. I feel like you kind of, if you do that, like, it's all hard work and everything, but you get there quicker and you don't really appreciate as much. That's what I really want, like, to work. Not that I'm saying I want to take forever to get where I want to go, but like, if it does take like a long time, then I know I'll appreciate it more, and that's something I really want, you know.
Yeah, because I already noticed that, like, so for instance, you've appeared on SYN Media quite a few times, and you've also like performed at various concerts as well. So, and whereas if you're just kind of thrown into that, you know, Australian Idol, X Factor competition, you don't, like you said, you don't really like appreciate the journey. Yeah, and I feel like it's just, I don't know, it's something I've never felt like I've wanted to do. I just want to get there by myself, you know. Yeah. And so how do you see your, obviously, you know, the future's hard to predict, but how do you see your music kind of developing in the future? Do you see it staying the same, so kind of like drawing on live events, or that kind of genre that you still create, or do you see yourself going down a different path eventually? Well, my songwriting's changed so much in a year already. I feel like it's just going to keep changing. I feel like that's how it is with a lot of artists, you know, and I honestly can't say what it will be like in, you know, 5 years, maybe even next year, because I honestly don't know, but I know that it's just going to keep changing, and I don't know if I'll like it or not. It's kind of the way it is with me, but yeah, it's just going to keep changing, and I think I'll enjoy it. And I'm hoping that, like, when this album comes out, it's going to be a real big boost, and I can sell a lot of them and get, like, a lot of people listening to my music. And that's just kind of all I'm wanting to do right now, is just get the album done, launch it, get it out there, and just have people listen and enjoy. And so when you're in studio, so obviously you mentioned before, the process of like auto-tuning your music. Most artists do that. Are you a fan of it, and are you using it in your album? I did use it in my the Trapped version I submitted. That's just because I'm really bad at doing harmonies. I find that really hard, but honestly, I feel I would rather like spend a lot of time getting all the notes perfect. Obviously there's sometimes you need to do it, like there's some exceptions, but most of the time I just kind of want to kind of steer clear away from that. But if it has to happen, you know, it has to happen. Yeah. Is that a rare thing though, to not use auto-tuning? Because I think it's like in the music industry, just from like the outside, it seems like that most artists just use it anyway. No, it is a handy tool, but I just try, my thing that I
thrive on is being as real as possible. Not that that's being fake or anything. I'm like, obviously with the people here on the radio have to do that. It has to be, everything has to be perfect, all the tune and stuff like that goes on the radio. But I'm sure I'm become more of a fan when I understand it more. But at the moment, I would just rather get all the notes right, spend a lot of time getting all the notes right than tuning everything that's not, you know?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And Adam, just have you ever gone busking before out on the street?
I did. I recently went to the United Kingdom, and I was going to busk because, like, you don't need a license there, which is really handy. I was going to busk in Ireland, but I didn't end up busking in Ireland. So then I was going to busk in because we went from Ireland to Scotland to London. And so the only place I actually ended up busking was London, which was really good. I ended up actually busking on the tube, which is really rare because you can get arrested for that, and I didn't understand that. I didn't know that at the time. So I went and busked there, and they didn't find me. I didn't get caught in that time. And then I went to bus like fully in the center of the tube, which is kind of what I didn't do last time. I went off to the side, and that's when I got moved on. And I got moved on heaps in London, but then I ended up busking in Trafalgar Square, so that was incredible. Yeah, and I didn't bring a PA system with me because I just obviously couldn't bring it on the plane. But the guy busking in front of me lent me his, so that was great. So. Oh, that was just so fun busking. There were so many people, and people were sitting down and watching and taking photos, and just, it was great. I enjoyed it so much.
And so why did you go overseas? Was it to do with your music?
No, it was just me and my mum have always wanted to go overseas. I've never been overseas. Well, I have, but when I was 2, but I don't remember it. And mum's Scottish and stuff like that, so she wanted to go home and see her family. And yeah, of course, I wanted to come and busk and, be involved in the Irish music and Scottish, and that was fun. I didn't do a gig there, but I played at a local pub with all these Scottish people, and it was crazy.
I could imagine.
Yeah.
Especially with the culture as well.
Yeah.
But does that take a lot of courage to busk?
It was... The actually playing in the pub was scarier because they're not native music, but their kind of music is different, a lot different from what I was playing. They had all their Irish music and their Scottish music, and I was just kind of totting along with my little Australian alternative over here. But yeah, that was different. Busking, I was really scared at the start, and it was freezing, so it was really hard to play. My fingers were frozen. But it was scary at the start, but then I really got into it, and I really enjoyed when I saw that people were actually, watching and enjoying it. So that was fun. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so in the future, is that something you want to do, not just play in Australia, but around the world?
Yeah. Yeah. It was so fun meeting people, that had just meeting people from the world, especially in music. The guy before me was really cool. He had an album out, and I talked to him, and then the guy after me was awesome, and he'd actually been busking in Melbourne for 6 months. That's how he was living here, and it was really nice to meet them, and they were so friendly and just generally warm and caring. It was really nice. I just want to play everywhere.
Mm-hmm. And And are you aware of the risks, I suppose, associated with singing? It's not like risks, but for instance, say if you're doing concert after concert after concert.
Yeah.
Sometimes artists can have problems with their voice box, or I noticed that in concerts they sometimes have to wear earpieces as well to distort the sound, otherwise it's too loud. But with is that something you think about?
Sometimes. I've never really been conscious about that, and I feel like I should be. The only thing that I try not to do, which I have done before, is scream my lungs out at concerts. I came back from the Taylor Swift concert and I couldn't talk for a week. Well, not a week, but it was really bad. for a week and I was freaking out. I was like, oh my God, what if it never gets better? But yeah, I'm going to definitely be more reserved about screaming unless it's a Taylor Swift concert. Just go out there. Crazy.
Yeah. But I suppose with like your type of music, you know, that kind of thing wouldn't be a huge
It's
issue.
It's not like full on scream it. There's a lot of my songs are really calm and stuff. Like some of them can, you know, like voice changes and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of them wouldn't really damage my voice, you know.
And so when you're kind of playing, like eventually say playing like maybe like a live concert, like a 15-minute concert or something, how do you prepare your voice to tolerate that kind of duration? Because I've always been amazed at how artists can, you know, perform song after song after song at a live concert with not a lot of deterioration in their voice or anything.
Yeah. Water is really important to keep hydrated, especially like when you're singing. Also, warm-ups really help, which I'm not really good at. But yeah, they help. And then, you know, singing, it kind of keeps warming up your voice. There is a time when, like, I think it gets to about the hour mark or even more than that. Like if you're singing quite loud songs that you're like, but it takes quite a while for your voice to really deteriorate. Like, yeah, I think you can go for ages if with the right training and the right abilities and stuff like that. You don't want to if you don't know how to use your voice properly, you definitely don't want to be singing for more than 3 hours.
Yeah.
You're just gonna
Yeah, I mean, I can even like relate to that when I went to a Coldplay concert, when I was singing the songs. Yeah, I was like, it's like how's Chris Martin, you know, managing to sing these songs? And it's quite amazing. Like I just have a lot of appreciation for it because I like you said, like if you get really into it as a fan, like you can lose your voice pretty quickly.
Yeah. It's just technique. Yeah, definitely technique is really important when it comes to doing loggings.
And practice as well, I suppose. Yeah,
and just getting used to that amount of singing and that like singing that amount of time. You know, you don't want to like go from 15-minute gigs to an hour and a half gig and you can't expect that your voice is going to be the same as it did when it started, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so what kind of warm-ups would you do before you were doing like a concert or?
The bubbles, which is like, and you go up and down. It's just like scales a little bit. I do that, and like same things like that.
So what does that?
It just warms up your lips, warms up your vocal cords, and then going like up and down like to your high ranges and lows warms that up as well. So like, and trying to get like, I call them mountains, like 3 waves or mountains is really good. From like 3 onwards means like you're ready, you're good to go. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
And do you think that's really like a really important thing?
Yeah, I try and do that. Well, I do that now. Before every gig, I notice that like when I do it, my voice is so much better. It's just more prepared and warmed up, and it's like you don't want to kind of damage it, like trying to strain it. It's kind of like trying to do exercise before warming up. You're gonna kind of hurt.
Like stretches and
you wanna be ready before you go and do your marathon.
Mm-hmm. And so obviously you're very invested in music and you're only 15 years old. So that makes me assume that you started out in music pretty young.
I did. I started fully, was like, I want to do this at 13. But I had the idea at like 11, 10. I was like, I think that'd be really cool to do. But like at 13, I was like, yes, I'm going to do this.
So did you get like any kind of like professional training as well?
I have done piano for a while. Right now, like I'm in Blackburn High School. I'm doing like jazz piano, so that's really cool to learn. I kind of take the jazz chords and everything I learn from there and put it to my music. That's really well. In terms of vocal, I've done like a couple lessons with a lady that was really good, but then I moved away from where I used to live, so I didn't. But I'm starting vocal lessons again, and I'm hoping that like it's going to be really good and give me heaps of technique and improve that. Yeah.
But like just for like when listening to your songs, like I was really impressed like with your voice. Like I thought it must have been like you must have taken like loads of lessons, but can that just come about through just just like playing songs and just testing your vocal ranges by yourself?
Experimenting is really, really good thing to do. Sounds weird, but I've just gone on YouTube and I've listened to people and I've tried to mimic what they do, and it's worked sometimes, and sometimes it's like that's not working. But I haven't had any really professional training at the moment, so that's kind of how just experimenting has really helped me a lot. But I think now I'm at the stage where I actually need to get some help, like to go the further step. Yeah, that makes sense. So, for instance, with something like the guitar, which is one of your main instruments, did you teach yourself how to play it? Originally, I got the chords, just like they're really simple chords. I'm not really a guitar expert, like my friend, but I'm trying to slowly expand my chord knowledge. It's not really working. I'm not really good at remembering the patterns and stuff like that. So it's really simple chords, but my friend Lloyd Spiegel has helped me heaps on guitar. I was really bad at finger picking, but he helped me with that, and he's just really good at guitar, so he's really helped me a lot with guitar. Yeah, so is finger picking the one where you just like play different individual strings? Yeah. Because I used to play guitar in primary school. It wasn't a very serious thing. Yeah. But I noticed when you play it, if you're not really used to it, it can kind of hurt your fingers a little bit until you kind of get used to it. Yeah, like I have calluses now and stuff like that, so it doesn't hurt me anymore unless I'm like going full at it, for hours. And would you use like a pick as well? No, I only used a pick when I was busking to try and be louder because I didn't have my sound system, and because like my fingers are all bloody and broken and stuff. But I try not to use a pick. I try and build up that strength and that ability in my hand, because like that's kind of what I do. Like I don't really know how to explain it right now, but I just want to, because it's like I don't want to have to carry a pick around all the time. I want to be able to just go down. I like the sound better without a pick. It can kind of you can hear the plastic in a pick, I think personally. So when you play, it's more raw. I just like that sound, more kind of a nude sound. Yeah, I get what you mean. And so like one of the artists that I like who's really good with guitar is Ed Sheeran, and he kind of uses a loop, a loop pedal. Is that something? So it's like even though he's playing solo, sometimes it doesn't sound like that because he's using, the loop to play different sounds. I know that. Would you consider implementing something like that? I would. I really want to learn how to do a loop. I really want to buy one, just like a cheap one to get started. I feel like that'd be really good to like also to get songwriting with. That would really help. You could, because when you get a loop, it doesn't have to be fully guitar. You can get like a microphone, stick it in, get a beat, and then you got the beat for your song, which really helps. As a live loop, that'd be really cool as well. I reckon you can do live loops. So I really want to try a loop. That'd be cool. I haven't got around to it yet, but I'm sure I will soon. So and so how do you think you would use it then? Like say like with your original songs, how do you think it would help? I'd probably be really good with like just like getting like a little loop at the start that could like riffs. Do you know what a riff is? What's that again? It's like the thing that sticks in your head when you listen to a song. Yep. So like with Shake It Off, it's like yeah. So you could probably do that, and then that could go through the whole song, and you'd have your riff without having to do anything.
Yeah.
So you could get that already at the start and then play a song, and that would stick in people's heads while you're playing, and they'd remember the song better, you know?
Yeah. I could see how that could definitely help.
Yeah.
With solo artists in particular.
Yeah, definitely.
Is that something Taylor Swift uses as well?
I'm not quite... Oh, she did use it. She did use it once in her concert. It was in Blank Space, and she smashed a pole against another piece of metal, and it went boom, boom. And then she had that keep going, and then she would like sing like Sydney or Melbourne. She'd go like Melbourne, and then that would keep going over as she was singing. It was really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so not even solo artists can use it. Like you can, so even like those in bands, it might help.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
And so what was your experience at the SnowWave Festival like?
It was really good. Originally, I didn't know I was playing. I got called up. Not called up, but I was asked, like, it was ages ago. It must have been like, I don't know, 2 years ago or something. I'm trying to remember now. I was asked to play like that day, like that night. I was like, whatever, sure, cool. So I went and played, and then I was asked to go to a songwriting workshop they had the next day. And I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. And then they're like, do you want to play tonight as well? I was like, cool, that's all cool with me. And then I think they just saw that like I was really, cool with whatever, dedicated to it, just doing as many gigs as I could, because there's not many gigs up in like little rural towns up in the high country. So I went to the other gig, and then I didn't even know that there was an award, and then they were like, and the SnowWave award goes to Sarah. I was like, what? So I guess the competitions that I've been in, I haven't really known I've been in the comp.
But you won the best upcoming female artist.
Yeah, that along with there was a boy and a girl nominated, like got the award. So that was me and a boy who lives up in Mansfield called Tom Medcraft.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
do you think that's an advantage, kind of living and kind of playing in those like rural settings?
Like those playing in the little country towns helps a lot, because you get to know the people, and then they tell other people, and it's like it's small communities, so a lot of people know you in the community. As in living there, I found it really hard to get gigs. Like I couldn't get gigs in Melbourne or anything, because like it was 2.5 hours away to even get down here to play one gig. So winning that award was actually really great, because I got to come down from like Mansfield to Melbourne and get gigs all around the place. I got like 3 or 4 gigs, and that was whole new for me. I'd never played in Melbourne before, so that was really helpful with the SnowWave Award. But living there was really hard to get gigs and to perform,
Mm-hmm. And in terms of like drawing like experiences from, do you notice that say when you're writing your music, where would you write your music? Like, would you write it kind of like in a rural place, or would it be in the city?
Like in terms of like where I actually compose my music, I compose it pretty much anywhere where it comes to me. Yeah. The thing I really want to try and do is, I've heard it's really good for people. They have like a little like songwriting corner that's all like set up, and so they'll go there at like a certain time, might be like 6 at night, and go sit, and so that their brain is like, oh, this is songwriting time, I have to write a song. I want to try that. That'd be cool. But at the moment, I kind of just write whenever I feel like writing, or the zone comes,
Yeah. And that's something, with artists, sometimes they can just get an idea and they just have to write it down. Yeah. Whether, if they don't have a piece of paper, sometimes like on their hand or like on their mobile. Yeah. Are you that kind of person?
Yeah. Sometimes that does happen. Like I get like... I'll be sitting in like math or something, and something will come, and I'll have to like quickly write it down before the teacher sees or something. But yeah, that happens. My kind of view on it is like, I'm at school now, so it's not like I try and treat my music like it's a full-time job, but it's kind of hard because 8 hours of your day is like, getting to and from school is dedicated to school, when you can be doing heaps of stuff, but obviously school's important. But I kind of feel like when I leave school, it's a job being a musician, and sometimes it comes to an artist, but my goal would be like to get up and just sit down and work on it as you would a normal job of some sort, you know, not just kind of lounge around all day waiting for inspiration to come, because that's not really going to work like that. I feel like for me, you have to like get stuck down and be like, write a song, because you need to.
And would you consider music as an obsession or a passion of yours? Because I think there's a distinction, because sometimes I hear music, like, of artists saying like music is their only thing where they just constantly think about it all the time.
Well,
or can you switch off?
I can't fully switch off. It's a thin line between real big passion and obsession, you know? And I think sometimes I cross that. Songwriting is a really big passion for me at the moment. It's not obsession. I feel like it's going to be, and it scares me a little bit. But music in general is a really big obsession of mine. Like, whenever I'm just walking down the street, I'll hear, you know, drills going or something, and my mind will just instantly jump to something that sounds like a song that has maybe that kind of sound in it, or I'll create like a song in my head with that in it. And it's like, I don't even mean to do it, but it happens. So I guess that you can kind of call that obsession, but I don't know. It's kind of me. I am music, so I embrace that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's time to wrap up the podcast, but I'd just like to thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, no worries. As soon as I heard you on SYN Media, I was like, I must have you on. And so there's going to be a separate video where Sarah plays a song, one of her original songs called Let Her Go. So that will be the weekly highlight. So if you wanted to see that song, you can just go to that video. But good luck with your music career.
Thank you.